I do want to give a shout out to my colleague Ed Ponder, who runs food and beverage here at the Betsy. I do want to give a shout out to the great Carol Ann Taylor, who very lucky performs here at the Betsy on a regular basis. Pardon? And rock that hair. Everyone's rocking their hair tonight. I do want to say, I'm repeating myself for the crowd that was here earlier, but it's worth repeating. The great art behind me is from a wonderful Ethiopian artist named Aida Moulane. And this work behind me in particular is about, it's called her Water Series, which pays homage to the women of Africa who have to go get water every day and spend half the day collecting water, and what that means actually, that holds their life and progress down to have to go search for water with buckets 2 hours there and 2 hours back each day. We're grateful to have this community with us here today. Betsy believes deeply in the importance of community and civil discourse about important stuff, and having sat through the first half of this, I know this is an important topic. Thank you for being here.
All right, so look, guys, we have a new panel. Yay! All right. I'm going to ask you all to, again, my name is Khalib Thompson. I went through my whole spiel before, but I'm going to ask all of you to do your elevator pitch. Keep it down to 2 minutes or so, a minute or two. And just tell us about yourselves and why you are here talking about this topic today.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Simone Hilton. I'm one of the co-owners of Natural Trendsetters, which is one of the first natural hair salons in South Florida. I've been a cosmetologist for over 30 years, and my specialty is natural hair, even though I am a cosmetologist and I do everything else. One of the things that I think that I can really bring to the table here is being the first natural hair salon. We opened in 1997 when it wasn't really popular. And the reason we called ourselves trendsetters was to set the trend, because the standard of beauty that was set, that everybody was following, didn't really embrace our natural beauty. And our main mission was to raise the standard of beauty and how people really looked at themselves. Because, like the sister said earlier, we'll look at entertainers and how they're wearing their hair and their looks and try to emulate that. But if we didn't see ourselves in those images, we would try to look something that we're not. So one of the things that we really push is a lot of self-love and self-acceptance. And even in the workforce, which they were talking about earlier, if you own your stuff, there is an issue about how you look, but it ends up going behind your accomplishments and your abilities, like we saw in the first panel.
Okay, thank you. That's Simone. And Sandy?
Hi everyone, I'm Sandy Dorseyville, and I like to call myself a cultural crusader, and I basically produce cultural events and programming, but I've been doing that for about 30 years, but my career started off in education, and I taught in Broward County Public Schools, and I was an administrator in Broward County Public Schools for about 14 years, and honestly I could relate to the first panel that's made the statement that really you're able to sort of own your appearance and what you put out there when you're in a position of power, or when you feel like you're in a position of some type of security or financial security. And I didn't lock my hair until my 30th birthday, until I got that promotion that I really wanted. Because at the time, I just felt that working in that environment in Broward County, and it was very corporate and very navy blue suit, that locks wouldn't be accepted. At least not, I think once they get longer, they're more accepted. It's that beginning phase when it's just sticking out. That I think that's the hardest time to accept that look. And it wasn't until I left, I decided to make that big leap and leave the school board and leave corporate America per se, and sort of go out on my own and really pursue my career in the avenues of cultural activities, and that I felt comfortable in my skin, and I felt comfortable with my hair like this. But I have to be honest, my mother still asks me on a regular basis, when are you gonna cut your hair? You're never gonna get married again until you cut your hair. Like, we have to be honest about it, because in her mind, this isn't the standard, and this is just something else that I'm adding to my life to make my life more complicated.
Which is a generational issue.
Yes.
I would imagine.
And I have my daughter who's 8 years old now, and my son who's 17, who my son just started locks. And it's weird, I did not want him to have dreadlocks. I fought it for the longest time. It wasn't until some little girlfriend he had locked his hair. And I just left it alone, but I didn't. And it's weird because I've had locks. I'm 42, so I've had them for 12 years. But I didn't want my son to have them for the same reason my mother doesn't want me to have them. I just felt like you're a young black boy, you go to a predominantly Caucasian school, you drive home late at night. This is one more thing that's gonna bring attention to you. And he called me out. He said, "Really, Mom, you have dreads and you want me to have locks?" And I told him, "Don't do what I do."
You're gonna say not what I
do. Do what I say. But he won the battle. I had to swallow the pill, and he has dreadlocks, but I didn't want him. And my daughter, who's 8 years old, she's been begging for them.
Right.
And I haven't
Free
made
up the
that
girl.
decision.
Yeah.
So
All right.
it's still a battle.
Thank you, Sandy. And then Carl?
My name is Carl Shears. I'm a photojournalist with the Miami Herald for the past 30 years. My hair is my crown.
Yes.
Simply put, I had to earn the right to wear it. So when I walk into places that all around the world, wherever I go, Iraq, Jordan, Brazil, I remind them, they don't quite understand or can come to a conclusion where exactly I'm from. Because I'm traveling with all this expensive gear, I'm ordering people around. Not ordering, I'm requesting things to be done on my behalf.
In a very assertive voice, right?
And they can't figure it out because I'm one of the few black Haitian Americans working as a photojournalist for a major paper. It doesn't make me a pioneer. It doesn't. What it makes me is I'm in servitude of the legacy of my parents. So hair to me has always been something that I had to maintain. And now it's reverse. I don't maintain my hair maintains me. That's pretty much my story.
Nice. Thank you. Carl Just. And then Art.
My name is Art PK. I'm a barber for 20 years. Barber for 20 years. I opened my first barbershop at the age of 18. I've gone on to cut endless amount of athletes. I worked with the New York Giants. I fly weekly with Odell Beckham Jr. Like, barbering is my life. Hair is my life. So I guess that's what I bring to the table here is maybe a look of maybe not growing your hair, but edging it and giving it that look that you might have dreads, but I line you up, make your beard look sharp, and it's like, wow, okay, I'm looking clean now.
And you're taking care of the men, so you're a little bit different on this panel, right? But I'm gonna start with you, Art. So Odell Beckham, I'm not a sports fan, so I had to look up who this Odell Beckham was. And I see all this shock of blonde, craziness going on, and it was refreshing, Why does he do that? Is there some kind of political statement behind the hair is just attention?
I mean, I've never really had a conversation with him about it, so it would be clearly my opinion, but I see it as he likes to stand out. He likes to be, like when you see him, he likes to be seen. Like when he's in the room, he's gonna dance, he gets an end zone, and he's gonna do something crazy. You might not have watched the game, but you saw the dance in the end zone,
Right.
So I think the hair kind of complements who he is. It's his style.
That identity again, the crown, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Carl, I'm going to bounce that question to you then. In your years of travel and interaction with various people, has there ever been, or just kind of in your impression, hair that becomes a political statement all by itself?
Well, you know, look, most of the time if I'm traveling in the Middle East, they think I'm Jamaican. I've never been to a single country that I see a picture, a poster about her reggae from a certain form.
And let me qualify the question a little bit. Rastafarianism in Jamaica came about as kind of a political statement. The hair was anti the man, you know, you call the man in America, and it was a political statement in and of itself.
Right, so in and of itself, a lot of places like, oh, Americans are not seen in highlights, so I kind of represent the I guess, the antithesis of the system. But, you know, again, the hair does not make the man a man. You have to be a man in order to carry it to begin with. That's why my son will not have dreads. He'll have dreads when he earns that privilege. Because when you walk into a boardroom, and I not only work for the Herald, I also have corporate clients. I'm dealing with a corporate client now for a pretty big project. And when you walk in a boardroom, we have a discussion. First of all, you're the only black person. And sometimes you're the only male black person. And they look at you, and they're shocked by the way your demeanor. You know, you walk like a champion, talk like a champion. So my hair reminds me that I can't fail. My hair reminds me it may fall off, it may break off, a cat may chew on it. When I wash it and put it up, it reminds me of the legacy which I carry. See, because the giants are braided in my hair. They're weaved into my hair. When we speak up, we stand on the shoulders of giants. So giants are in my hair. And once I cut it off, and when I choose to, if I don't, I'll keep my hair as long as God gives me the grace to have it. But if I lost my hair, it wouldn't be the loss of my legacy. So, yes, it's a political statement, because unfortunately, when you're a person of color, everything becomes political. You know? But you know, you say it's sad, I say bring it on. It is, but it's just another circumstance we got to deal with. It's just another mountain we have to climb. And that doesn't only go for men, it goes for our sisters of multiple colors. Now, we're engaging with a system that has a predisposed idea of what everything is. And most of the things you're not included in.
Right.
So if I'm going to be the first black man on the moon, let it be. If I'm going to be 1 of 4 billion on Earth, let that be too. But I'm going to be the best damn 4 billion on this Earth. That's possible.
That you could be, nice. That's a little different for me. You know, you said you had to earn your locks. I felt like mine belonged to me from before I had them, and so I was gonna get them regardless of what Daddy said or what Sister Mary said or what whoever said. And I feel like it is a part of who I am. If mine fell off tomorrow, I'd feel like a different person and maybe even a lesser person because they've become so much a part of who I am. So you said you wouldn't feel that differently.
No, what I mean is that this hair has embedded so much of my character that now it allows me to drive it. I've been entrusted with it.
Yeah.
So if it departs, it's like a parent. Yes, I'll miss it. And I lost both of my parents, and I miss them dearly. But I celebrate them every day, even if they're not here.
I got you.
And that's what I meant. I would celebrate it regardless if it's on my head or not.
I got you. Amen. All right. Miss Sandy, let's talk about your mama. I'm going to tell you about your mama right now. No, I want to talk about that generational thing that you mentioned, right? The parents thinking that you're not going to get a husband or a job or what have you. And there's an issue of self-hatred that comes along with us seeing ourselves in our very raw state sometimes. Can you talk on that and just in your own family or families that you've been around?
Well, first I have to say, you know, I'm Haitian American. I'm first generation Haitian American at that. And in Haiti, and even for Haitian Americans, dreadlocks are associated with being Jamaican. So right there, my family was like, what's going on? You know, like, this isn't part of our culture and our tradition. I think before I started my locks, in fact, I think I started my locks in natural trends. I wore my hair short and natural for a long time, and then I went through a phase of it was blonde and it was orange. And even that was hard for her to swallow. I think for any parent, but more so for my immigrant family, and because we've talked, as a family, we've had this conversation so many times in so many different ways. It's just always that conversation of your life is already complicated. You're already black. You're already not American. You're already children of an immigrant. You know, and then there's just this long list of things that are quote unquote against you already in this life. Why are you adding? My mother would always say, why you feel like you have to make your life more complicated? Why do you always have to take the hard road?
I understand that, but there is still this element of if we believe that we were good enough, we would not have an issue. We'd kind of fight to make sure that whoever we are, we can just go ahead and do it, you know? And it happens in Jamaica as well. You'll have parents that tell your children, oh, you're just a this, or you're just a that, or you're just from this area. You'll never get to anywhere.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I have to defend my mother just because she and I have had this conversation.
I'm kidding about just being your mother.
No, but
yeah.
To make that statement, to clarify, I don't think she thinks it's ugly.
Gotcha.
You understand? And I don't think she thinks it's unattractive. Her whole thing is even that this should be a sacrifice I'm willing to make my life easier and the life of my children easier. Even if I think it's beautiful,
right.
It's not worth it to her.
Right.
I don't think she thinks it's ugly at all. And she's I don't think she, and now I have to say she wears her hair natural and short. I don't think she thinks it's ugly. I just don't think she thinks it's worth the drama. So like she would not agree with this conversation.
Right.
Like she'd be like, why are we doing this?
So let's take your mother out of it, because you're from you have a Caribbean heritage. Many of us here have a Caribbean heritage. Caribbean heritage, Cuba, that's close enough, right? You're still one of us, right? But taking your mother specifically out of it now, there is that generational thing that says it is better for you to kind of blend in with everybody else than to say this is who I am and kind of be proud of who you are and put that out there. So let's take your mother out and talk about that.
I mean, I think especially now that I'm in a world where what I'm doing is promoting everything that's of the Black diaspora, everything that's artistic and beautiful from my perspective and what I'd like to present to the world. I sort of step harder in my steps. I feel more comfortable in that lane because I'm so naturally who I am. And it's amazing to me and it's beautiful to me when I look at my children and the children of my friends and how it's so normal for them. It's very normal for them.
To just be whoever they are.
To just be whoever they are, and the more different, the better. I mean, my daughter knows what branding means. You know, she'll say things to me like, well, that's my brand.
Yeah,
What? You're 8.
And?
Yes, and, you know, that's my brand. So, like, I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be able to say that I can see that progress in these short years. You know, to see that it's a monumental step. But then, like everything, once it becomes popular and it trends, does it lose its significance? Because for Carl and for myself, it's a political thing in some way, shape, or form, and maybe even for Simone. But I think for my daughter, it's a hairstyle.
And I think that is progress in and of itself. Coming right to, you know, I think that's progress in and of itself because, you know, Black empowerment started off as a political statement. Now it's supposed to be normal. And when you start to see it kind of waning and being taken away from you, then you kind of understand the political significance. But the idea is, and I think the objective for all of us is to normalize these things that we're fighting for, right? Simone.
So, I just had so much to say.
I know.
I come from a family, I'm Jamaican as well.
Yes.
My father is a Rastafarian man. My mother, she is more of a free spirit. She always wanted to look fabulous. She was very well put together West Indian woman. It wasn't about locks, it wasn't about being natural, it was about being fabulous. My father, he was more of a cultural, he grew up in a family that was totally Christian. He had to get his hair cut every 2 weeks. Like, he tells a story that one time, it's really quick. One time his mother went to America, and she left him the money to get his hair cut every 2 weeks. And he didn't go. And his hair grew out a little bit. She was gone for about 3 months. His hair grew out a little bit. He went and took the money and got a blowout. Now, the barber was so used to him coming every week. He's looking for him like, where is this guy? So when he got the blowout, he went to school and I was like, yeah, man. He's chilling. His mother, as soon as she got on the plane, she's like, what is going on with your hair? She dragged him by his ear to the barber. The barber saw it. He said, oh, so you wasn't bringing my money every week. Okay. He scalped his head, balded than he's ever cut it. He went to school, everybody's laughing at him. Now, from that, he knew that the minute he was able to do what he wanted to do, that he was going to do it. So he believes and knows that his hair is his crown. And I was taught that on that side of my family. When my mother was, oh my goodness, this hair is too thick, I got to get a relaxer. I told my dad when I was about 11 years old, I was like, Daddy, you don't understand. I need a relaxer. I have to have one. You don't have to go to school. And this one, I was in my formative years and not really loving myself. I was looking at Jan and Marsha Brady thinking they were the coolest, most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't understand. I was looking in the mirror like, what went wrong?
Before it became Tootie, right? Before Tootie came around.
Tootie was the action, you know what I mean? And then, even in school, when I learned about Harriet Tubman, I thought it was an amazing story. I'm like, she came back? She got free and came back to pull people to freedom? This is the most amazing woman I ever, I was so into it. And the first day that they showed a picture of Harriet Tubman in class, everybody bust out laughing. And I'm like, she was more like me than anybody else in the That's the truth. You know what I mean? And I felt like I couldn't like her. I felt like, all of those things of me growing up helped to create the woman that I am now. And I didn't realize it then. But what I get out of doing hair and helping women go natural and helping them to cross over, like even the ugly stage of locks, that they like to call it, I help women through that because it's not that it's ugly, it's that you're not used to seeing yourself. And when you learn how to accept it, you embrace it. So whether it's a weave, when I put a weave in someone's hair for the first time, they're freaking out. They're like, oh my God, it's too long. I don't like the color. You know what I mean? But it's all about accepting it. Right. So if that's what you accept, like even the barber thing. Barbers I love the industry and the way you guys hold it to a certain standard. You know what I mean? Like barbers right now are on fire. Yes. Like they're using art and paint, like they're makeup artists. I'm like, you guys are phenomenal. They're artists, they're drawing, they're carving, you know what I mean? So it's a creative aspect, and the political statement, it's all about self-love at the end of the day and really learning to own your stuff. And even your children, in the time that they're exposed and seeing more, so they're more acceptable to a different kind of look. And even our parents, like my mother has locks for her wigs now. In her journey with my dad, she found herself there. And in her rebellion, he's not going to tell me how to wear my hair. No, I'm not locking my hair. Like, I don't call locks dreadlocks. No, because it's not dreadful. It's beautiful. Right. There's a word that we got. There's a word that we got from the powers that be because they couldn't understand it. When you wear locks, you feel it when you walk in the room. You don't got to say anything. It's just like, okay, what's she doing? I had locks when a lot of women weren't wearing locks. I actually just started my locks again, though. But it's the ugly stage, so I got my hair wrapped up. I say it's like going through a cocoon for a butterfly. It's not going to be beautiful. When you see a cocoon, you're like, what is that? It looks ugly. It's just sitting there. It's not. It looks like snot. Like when the butterfly comes out of it is when it's beautiful. So that whole transition is what you go through to earn that crown.
When she said I think you have to go through that period, because you have to make a conscious decision if this is your decision or if this is the decision of someone else's.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because when I started, I didn't start growing my hair locks till 19. I'm not gonna give my age, but till 1996. And I knew that my parents, being very conservative, I'm gonna get some backlash. I was out of my parents' house, but I was always going to see my parents. And I remember walking in, and I just got beeswax. So back then, that was a technique. And my mom looked at me, and she looked at me. I swear she thought I was buckwheat. I swear. She looked at me, and she looked at me. She said, "That's not my son." I said, "Mom, come on." She goes, "No, I don't know what you did to your hair. I didn't raise you that way." I'm like, "Easy, I'm still the same guy." So, and then I had to step up and say, "Mom, I respect your opinion, but I'm a man now. I'm a good man. And I wear this to honor you and Dad. And you may not like it now, but I promise you, when this thing grows to what it needs to be, you'll be proud of me." So about 2 years later, I won an award and parents were invited. And I wore my locks in a ponytail. And I went to get the award and my parents was there looking. My dad is like looking at me. And I walked back. He goes, "Son, you know, I'm really proud of you, no matter what hair you wear."
Art, this is going to be the last question, and then we'll let the audience ask a few questions. Barbershop gossip, right? I don't want to call it gossip. I'm sure you hear, or I'm sure you're grooming several ethnicities of people. What are some of the things you'll hear black men talking about? Because I'm sure you hear these kinds of conversations on a fairly regular basis. What are the things that you hear black men talking about in terms of, this is the kind of reaction I get to my hair, or I'm going to get to my hair if I do this with it, or what do you hear when people are in your chair?
You mean like in the growing stages?
In the growing stages of the locks, if they're coming to you because they need to shave the locks off because they need to get a job, like what's the different?
Well, I think touching on what everybody's up here talking about is what's acceptable in the world, not necessarily what's acceptable to you.
Right.
And I think once you don't care about the world and you're acceptable to you, and you, like you said, you're confident in yourself, then at that point, like, you don't even care about the ugly stage because you're focused on what the goal is. I'm gonna do something and I'm gonna be original, or I'm gonna look how I want to look. I'm a rebellion, you know, like my mom, my rebellion wasn't dreads, but I put designs in my hair. And it's the same thing as what you guys are saying with the locks. Is like, what did you do to your hair? Everybody's gonna be like, you're embarrassing me. Like, you're my son. You're not supposed to look like that. And she made me shave it off. Right. And still to this day, I got designs.
Right. So most of your people are the rebellious ones who are gonna do what they want to do. Do you get people coming in and saying, "Oh, I have to cut it off because of my job," or?
And then you got people that do that.
Yeah.
And then typically the barbers are more of the rebellion because we really can do whatever we want with our hair. Nobody's gonna tell us you gotta go home early with that. So usually the barbers are like, "Man, forget that job, man." And sometimes it's like, "Oh man, I'm hurt for you." Right. That's pretty much, where it goes.
Thank you so much. Can we give them a round of applause? And then I'm going to open up the floor to questions. I think we have time for maybe 2 or 3 questions. Is any? Yes, Rebecca.
To the barber. So yes, I'm with the rebellion stage. I'm in search right now for a barber that can do faces. We're talking maybe 7, 8 years ago. That was me. My head was a canvas, so I've done Tyler Perry and did my head. I've done Fantasia. I've done Janet Jackson. I've done Mary J. Blige, so on and so forth. So of course, March is my birthday month, and they just added Brandy to the lineup. So between now and March 8th, I need to find a barber that can cut Brandy's face in my head. And her name. Put her name as well.
Okay. You need somebody locally?
Yes, locally.
Okay.
That sounds like an offline consultation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on to the next question. You two hook up afterwards. Yes, ma'am.
So I appreciate what you're saying, that your personal opinion is that you just earned and have the right to wear.
Can you speak up a little so the back, people in the back can hear?
So I appreciate that you stated that you earned the right to wear, and you wear them very proudly, your locks. I work in a high school, and I think we borderline a lot of the trend versus the historical aspects of locks and what they stand for. And media kind of plays a part as far as the stereotypical idea of the person behind a lock. How do we continue to educate high school students or other students or students that think it's just a trend to say, you know, there is more to your hairstyle as far as, are you wearing it because it's a personal choice, or are you wearing it because it's a trend? Because it does play, unfortunately, into what we all see on the evening news.
So Carl is going to answer that question, but I'm going to add to that question, and does it matter?
Agreed.
Okay. Well, first of all, we have to expose our children to diverse sensibility of what black is or what people of color are, and we're constantly finding the media work. That's why I became a photographer, because I was tired of seeing black people, black men specifically, and my Latin brothers being portrayed as pimps, drug dealers, or murderers. So, and this is the discussion I had to have with myself. I had to say, look, you know, I get pulled over anyway. You know, if I'm driving my red convertible, which I don't have no more, or if I'm driving a BMW, I get pulled over anyway. I go to the airport, and I automatically put extra time, because I am going to get the pat down.
Yep.
And I've always been a fan of showing children the possibilities, the multitudes of identities they can have. And I'm going to say it one more time, the hair is not my identity. The hair honors those who came before me. And it's not easy. And I'm tired of asking for people to understand. And I'm tired of asking people to make it easy. Because this is a beautiful struggle we all engage in. If it's hair, if it's class, if it's power, we're all engaged in a beautiful struggle. And each of us have a role to play in how well we deal with that struggle.
But to this specific question about the kids and, you know, them understanding the historical significance of the hairstyle that is dreadlocks, I stopped eating pork and beef and shellfish at 14 because even though I was not becoming a Rasta, I was in a country where that's what this crown was associated with, and I wanted to respect and honor that. I don't know that it is so important, again, because it's us moving past the political statement of it and just trying to normalize things and making it just that, you know, it's an accepted thing. Why does it matter? If you can wear your hair in a ponytail, why can't I wear mine in dreadlocks? It shouldn't have to matter that it's a religion or a, you know, we used to have to at Immaculate get there would be kids with dreadlocks, and they'd have to get a permission statement from their parents because it was a religious, you know, statement. Exactly. You could not wear your hair like that. I couldn't do the whole head, so I had two little locks in the back of my head for how many ever years because of this religious thing. I think the reason I asked the question, is it even important or is it necessary for the kids to know? It's great for them to know, but I don't think they should have to have the same burden that we have now borne to get to this point.
My son won't have to go through whatever.
Right.
Because his dad wears his locks.
Amen.
And it's every day he sees it. It's normal to him. And my son, quote unquote, is biracial. You know, blue eyes and olive skin. And I still call him my little black boy. You know? And so, and you are right. We're going to get past this. But we don't have to look that far. We have to look at our POTUS to see that we have it.
Amen.
Can I address that? I think also it's changing the narrative.
Yeah.
You got a brother sitting here with locks who successfully travels the world. we need to see that narrative. And our children are more exposed to that than we are, and we were more exposed to it than our parents. So it's a growth process.
Just like the hair.
Just like the hair. It's a natural, it's natural.
Right.
All right, next question. Yes, ma'am.
To the men on the podium, what are your thoughts about the young man, the young boy who was the wrestler? What are your thoughts about what happened to this young man?
Y'all gotta let me in on that.
Well, the rest of I'm gonna stand up for this answer. I was beyond angry. It was as if this coach asked him to bare naked. It was as if this coach put the shackles on his legs and hands. And what really pissed me off is no one stopped him. No one. And that's why I stand, because whenever I get angry, I don't sit. And again, it goes to address how far we need to go. We're not going to eradicate racism. And but I'm damn not going to legitimize it either. But look at the start we're having here. Look at this room. Our stories are being heard. Our stories are being shared. Our stories are being stolen. And our stories are being copied. So our stories do have value. And they do begin. Some of the value starts with this. I'll say that.
Before you respond, Brittany, can you see if there's any questions coming in from the live stream? Art, did you have any response?
There's no questions coming in.
I apparently didn't check my news.
You know what? Sandy first and then.
My son plays high school football and basketball. And I know at his school, there are rules about, and he goes to a private school, not a Catholic school, but a private school. And there are rules about how long, whether your hair is straight or locked, how long it can be. And I had that conversation with him, like, okay, what would you do if that was you? What if during a game, he doesn't wrestle, but, you know, football, I always thought I never understood how they could wear the locks under the helmet anyway. And I said, what would you do? And he would quickly said to me, I'm a kid, Mom. What are you going to do? Like, if my coach said something like that to me, the first thing I would do is look for you in the audience to tell me what to do.
That's a good kid.
And I was just like, yeah, it's true. And I just like Carl. As I watched the footage of that, I was like, where were his parents?
Maybe he didn't have it.
Like, even if it's not, where are the adults in his life? You know, because I'm not at every game.
It happened so quickly. And I said that too. I'm a single mom. I wasn't at all the games.
What
I loved about it was I put myself in the boy's shoes. Here he was, these adults, the leaders of what was going on was telling him he had to do something or he couldn't go forward in his dream. And he was like, yo, this means more to me than this hair, than what you think about it. Cut it. I'm going to whip this boy's behind. Because the whole tactic was they didn't think he was going to cut it. They put that obstacle in front of him because they didn't want him to get to the next level. He had gotten there on great merit, and he cut his hair like, what? Give me my medal. And that's what I love about it. Because it wasn't about what they were doing to him. It was about what his mission was when he came here.
And how he was going to respond.
You know what? That's kind of like what you were touching on, right? You want to wait till you become a man and you handle your business and then you step up and say, I'm gonna be bold.
Yeah.
Right, but he already got there. You know what I'm saying? Like your hair is part of your image, but at the end of the day, you're not gonna let it stop you. But as soon as you get what you got going, I'm right back to that.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
I'll shave my beard for you.
Sue somebody.
I said,
It's coming right back.
I was like, I can put him back. Just come check me out.
Brittany, was there anything on there? No? Okay. Any other questions from the audience?
Right here.
My husband's telling me no, and forgive me if I'm crossing a line. I think it was interesting that when Carl spoke,
he recognized also women and the struggle of women. How many women in this room do you remember in the 60s when you wore skirts of a certain length and you had to go on your knees and have your arms ripped up because you were too short?
I had that in Jamaica. Any other questions?
Yeah.
One over here, yes.
Okay, so this question is from the barber, and it goes back to what the young lady over there was saying earlier about beauty. And you said that you work with a lot of athletes, and she mentioned athletes. During the barbershop talk, what is the reaction, if any, if there's any talk about Black women and their natural hair? We know that, for instance, Mira La Negra, she was on Love and Hip Hop, and she had the afro, and there was a whole bunch of controversy around that, and then she basically made waves because of that. And then Miss Jamaica, she had an afro, and she made waves because of that. So is there any talk about women in the barbershop, which I already know is yes, but is there a reaction or, reaction about natural hair, women with natural hair and weaves and so forth?
You know what? On the last panel, a gentleman said the same thing. I haven't seen anybody in a barbershop or even out in society be like, oh my God, your hair's like that? Oh, like, I think we all like what we like. Like, you are attracted to what you're attracted to. You might like low hair, you might like long hair, you might like something about somebody's personality. And I think in the barbershop world, like, if you go, like, in a room full of men, if you're like, going against something that one of those men really like, you're going to have a problem anyway. So nobody's going to be like, oh, I don't like afros because he might love an afro. Or I don't like low hair, but my wife has low hair. What are you talking about? So I really don't, I never really see those kind of, I think those are more hidden, like embedded, if there is an issue, because I never really see it in the barbershop world.
Simone has something.
So we did a panel once at one of our hair shows. We did a male panel, and one of the questions we posed to them were, do you like women with straight hair and long hair, and what is your standard of beauty? And there were about 7 men on the panel, and across the board, they all said they love natural. They said they don't care if it's weave, natural, they love to see their women put together. And I think what's happening with this YouTube phenomenon, where everyone's on trying to figure it out themselves, and we feel like we don't need professionals anymore, is that when you think you're looking at your hair and you're stepping out, and it looks like the YouTube girl, you're not hitting it. It's not looking good. So I don't think that they don't like natural hair. They just don't like hair that's not kept. And I have so many women coming in the salon talking about, well, how long is it gonna last? I said, well, it'll last 3 weeks. Oh, I need something that's gonna last 2 months. Like, sis, everything is maintenance. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he said, if he cleans up a guy with locks, he's gonna look more put together. You know what I'm saying? If it's a homeless person who's still letting their locks grow wild, it's gonna look different than someone who is coming to a loctician that's gonna, give it a road to follow, keep it neat. You know what I mean? Yes. So everything is maintenance. Yes. And when we get to a point where we feel like we don't need professionals anymore, people in other cultures don't do that. They don't say we don't need help. We're gonna figure, but the Black woman, we're like, oh, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna juggle the kids. We're gonna do our own hair. We're gonna do our own makeup. We're on YouTube trying to figure it out. And if you just get pampered for a day, when someone just comes and takes care of that, it does so much for your self-esteem you would not believe.
So the answer is don't be ratchet. I think this is our last question that we have time for. 2 more? 2 more. Okay. So you and then you heard. Yeah.
So I almost didn't say this because I didn't want it to come off offensive. But to the beautiful mother with the locks with the leggings, what's your name? Sandy. And so I'm a clinical psychologist, and I just want to let you know that, like, when it comes to your daughter who's 8 years old, like 80% of what you model is what's going to happen and how you're going to impact your child. 20% is of what you're going to say to your child is actually going to be internalized. So you already are actually modeling that your locks are beautiful, that your wife she wants them. And so my encouragement to you, and I understand that the conditioning that we all have had. I just want to encourage you to actually just be bold so that your daughter can look just like you.
Thank you. And our last question? You have a question?
No, my comment, I do think that the comment about men and women's hair there's a big generational thing in this room, because when I first had sister locks, and my sister locks wound up being down to here, and I had sister locks for over 10 years, and I was told by an ex that I ain't gonna never find no man with that hair, and that I needed to get me some straight hair and hurry up.
And they were running you down, right? With a sister lock.
You know, I definitely believe it's a generational thing from what I believe that there are still black men who want their women to have long, straight, flowy hair. And it's just a fact that we're overturning the government. That's where
and that'll be $25, right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you to our panel. Thank you to our audience. Thank you to Yvette. Again, my name is Khalid Thompson. I'm inviting everyone to take a copy of the magazines, which will be out in a moment. Bring another photo? Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I really can't thank you all enough for taking the time out of your Sunday afternoon schedule to make it here. My name is Ed Ponder. I'm the Director of Food and Beverage and Guest Relations here at the hotel. So it is absolutely an honor for us to, as Jonathan said earlier, to have this event here. We do multiple series of conversations like this. We're actually having one that's starting now, a Yiddish salon that's going on in the restaurant. So we actually have conversations of this type all year, all week, all month, every week. Our writers in residence program is really growing now. We've had over 700 writers here in our writers in residence program here, when we actually host writers of all different demographics, all cultures, all different type of literary taste and design. So, you know, the Betsy's renowned for doing that. So I'm glad that we're able to take it to the next chapter and have a unique conversation about hair. Which I'm glad Yvette and I talked about. So I want to thank some of our sponsors, which is Ebene. You'll see most of you already received one of these in your hand. We also they're also on the back. Also want to thank the Humidor and Chambord. That drink you had, most of you tried. There's more outside. So it was a creative cocktail. I saw it. I was like, women and blackberry and Chambord, but yes, wonderful. So we have two amazing food and beverage operations here. As most of you walk through or walk around, you pass the Alley Restaurant, which is our Italian pizzeria. So feel free to pass by there. There's a salon going on now, but you can eat inside or you can eat outside once the salon finishes. And I know several of you already have reservations at LT Steak and Seafood. So thank you for your continued support. And I see a couple of you that have already made reservations for next week for our Valentine's Day dinner. I'm all in the self-promotions here for the hotel, so please pardon me for taking this moment to thank. I'm doing my Bill Talbot thing, I'm promoting, sell. Thank you very much. My good friend Ruben Roberts, our local president for the NAACP, is here. He wants to say a few words. Our next conversation event is February 10th. So we'll have another conversation. We'll be sending communication out about that topic. It'll be another fun topic, creative topic. We're looking forward to having this type of engagement continuously. We're not going to change the world, but we should have the opportunity to change each other.
Good evening. I'm Ruben Roberts from the NAACP. Did you all enjoy the conversation tonight? I want to say something that I think is very important. The Betsy Hotel is renowned for being open and welcoming to people who look like us. Matter of fact, the Betsy, we know the history of the Betsy. It's one of the first hotels that allowed black people to stay in the hotel. So we have an opportunity now with conversations like these. We'll be doing other conversations in the future around Memorial Day, a series of what we call a unity in the community. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that we embrace, that all coaches are embraced, that folks know that they are welcome, especially at the Betsy, with Ed and John, who's the owner, and that we can definitely feel welcome when we come to the Betsy. So I want to encourage you, make sure that you're on the mailing list, because they have a great mailing list where they give information. Give a round of applause to Yvette. She does wonderful. And as he said, this is just a continuation of all of the things that they do. The local NAACP supports the Betsy and the efforts that they do here, and we are hoping that we see more diversity coming here and participating in the functions that they have. And I just wanted to make those comments so that you can understand how that rings true in terms of welcoming and acceptance here on Miami Beach, especially with the Betsy Hotel. All right, thank you.
Thank you. So I just wanted to thank everyone. I really appreciate your presence. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be screening Napoli Ever After, which if you want to stay, you're more than welcome. We're going to queue it up. And you can go out and continue the conversation and spend the rest of the day. So thank you so much. Check our Facebook, and we'll let you know all the information about February 10th. And thank you so much to the panel and the moderator.